Really excited to be here. I think from everything I've heard about Georgia Southern, which dates back a long time, to be at a place where the history that's here with the 6 national championships and the conference titles, to walk into a place where you're held to a high standard every day, is a tremendous opportunity. I think it's a great group of guys to walk into the room with, to be alongside in terms of the coaches and the players, and just really looking forward to going through the process here.
Coach, how much did you turn to Coach Johnson for some advice before taking the job here at Georgia Southern? And if so, what did he tell you?
And over the course of 4 years, being in a room with Paul Johnson and Mike Seawalk and, Blake DeBartolo played here, and, so I had a good feel for what the place was and the culture, and that, he had mentioned that this is a place where, winning's important, and you're around guys where football is important, and this is a town not just with the players and the coaches, but to the town, to the community. It's a big part of the DNA here, and so I had a pretty good idea kind of what I was getting into, or at least I hope I do, and that's really what excited me about the challenge. I would like to be a no-huddle team, and how fast we go from a tempo standpoint will really probably be driven by depth at certain positions. So I know where we want to get to with that, but how quickly and how how soon we're going to be able to go at a good tempo, I'm not sure. I think that'll depend on the depth that we have, and I don't know that yet. I think we need to get out to spring practice and see who we have and see how recruiting finishes up. But I know where we want to go, and I think it will be. It's going to be a gun option attack with the ability to get under center and do some of the things that brings to the table. In an ideal world, to be able to do both those things and still have an identity and be good at that'll be the challenge. And we've got to make sure that we're conscious of that. And to do that and do it fast, I think is something. And it's not always fast. You don't, when you're no huddle, it doesn't always need to be fast. But to do that and vary from snap to snap, I think is a unique thing. When you talk about an option offense, the quarterback can cancel a lot of guys if he's got the mentality to run for 100 yards every game, and that's that's what you've got to have. You got to have a guy that's willing to run for 100 and throw for 200 every game. That's kind of how you should go into it, and that's really important to the fabric of the offense, I think. A lot of quarterbacks see themselves as dual threat guys, but you have to have, in the past here, they've had those guys, and that's the guy that we're going to recruit is no different than the guys that are, on the stadium out there, and the guys that have had here success most recently also. I think it's the same guy, and because when you're an option team, you don't really care about how many guys are in the box. You don't care what your number count is. The quarterback sometimes, if a guy's unblocked, if you miss a block on a linebacker, he's gonna cancel one. He's an eraser, and you've got to have that guy, who's dynamic with the ball and wants to run it. Georgia Tech, we came off a season where we were 9-4, and that to me, with Justin Thomas being a senior and he was leaving, and for me right now, this was a good time. We at Georgia Tech in 2014 and 2016, we had 11 wins and 9 wins, which at that place that doesn't happen. I think it's 11 times over the last 60-something years. So to me, to be a part of that and then to be able to move on, the timing was right, and it just kind of felt like it was the right time to do it.
Coach, how exciting is it to kind of put your stamp on an offense? We know at Tech, Paul is kind of the offensive coordinator, but now this is your baby, and you have a chance to make this yours.
That has a lot to do with it, I think. It's one of those things. I've learned a tremendous amount. I hope to be able to apply over the last really 8 years of doing it, but especially the last 4 with Coach Johnson. And just in having an identity and having a system. And then now being able to kind of work that into the shotgun phase of things. I think that's a unique challenge, and that's what made it very intriguing to me, to be able to go do that with the other guys that are in the room. We've got some guys in the room that have a lot of experience, both in the gun and under center, and then in the passing game as well. So, being able to take our thoughts and to collaborate and to put our name on something, I think is kind of exciting.
You bring in Justin and you bring in Bob Bodine, both of whom have been offensive coordinators elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a good thing to have three guys that have, that experience, or could it be too many cooks?
No, that's what we wanted. We set out, Coach Summers and I, and just each went step by step through the process, and no, I don't have enough ego to where I don't want to hear it. To me, in a room like that, you want to hear all ideas and you want things to be thrown out there, and then at the end of the day, we got to make a decision and got to go forward and decide what's best and go from there. But I'm excited to have all those guys, and Chad Lunsford and Chris Foster. Also, if you look at Chad over the last 4 years, he's gone through an interesting progression too, and so to be able to take his input, and Chris has been in a spread system where maybe some of those principles have carryover, and so I'm really excited about the guys in that room and being able to collaborate and find a product that's our own.
Can you think of anything specifically coming from Cal Poly to Georgia Tech that you learned from Paul Johnson on learning how to work this kind of offense?
When you watch it from a distance, you don't understand maybe all the whys, and then when you're in the room for 4 years, I think you get to really find out all the whys and the checks and the balances of a system. I think running plays is one thing, and then being able to tie plays together and have all the whys connect, I think is the next level, and so I hope that's what I got out of it, and I from what I see, there's some guys here that we can put that plan to work, with regard to the players.
How have the changes for recruiting changed with the addition of you and some of these new offensive staff? I know you go from some other coaches recruit these type players. Has things changed going into this signing day?
That's the biggest challenge day to day right now. Is that we're trying to find some offensive linemen that are really athletic, and can really bend and get to the second level, and have some explosiveness, and so that, and then also more depth at running back. I mean, we kind of created another running back spot, and so we are not nearly as deep there as we need to be. And then also really with the quarterbacks too, we need to find a guy that can change the game with his feet and his arm. And so we've kind of redirected in those positions what we're looking for, and that's very much our issue right now in front of us.
How many quarterbacks would you like to see?
Well, I think that'll kind of depend on who they are, and I think probably at least two, and kind of we'll see from there. But that's something Coach Summers and I'll kind of. It's a dynamic process that'll change as we go. But we've got an idea of what we're looking for.
A number of new hires. Obviously, got an opportunity today for Bryan Cook, our new offensive coordinator, to get in front of you guys and to speak a little bit about the offense. We certainly have had the opportunity also with that to be able to hire Bob Bodine, coming from Army over the last couple of years at Citadel, but was obviously here with Coach Johnson from 97 to 2002, through a great stretch of success during that period of time, and being able to hire Justin Wood on offense, coaching our receivers, a guy that's been at Cal Poly, been a gun option guy and an under center flex bone guy at the same time. Cal Poly obviously led the country in rushing this past year, and really excited about having him be part of our program as well. Got some other things things as well. Dwayne Chandler becoming our new strength conditioning coach. We get started up. School starts today here at Georgia Southern, but we'll get going with him in the weight room program. We'll get started next Monday morning with everything with our players, kind of get that 8-week cycle started before we get into spring practice, and we'll have some other adjustments obviously coming to the defensive side of the ball, and how we move forward. But with particularly 3 new offensive hires that you look up, and guys have got a little bit something different that they like. You know, we've been looking for a bigger offensive lineman for over a year now. Now we're in more of a mindset of guys that are athletic and explosive are the people that we're looking for. So it changes your dynamic a little bit. We're very fortunate we had a couple mid-year guys be able to come in and start school today for us. But that does become the challenge when it comes down to those things. But again, from a recruiting standpoint, the big thing's got to be that we're taking the right guys. And again, that goes back to making sure they're guys that want to be here. That's guys that we want to make sure certainly are athletic enough and explosive enough, but also guys that are good students. This is a special place, and we wanted to make sure there were guys that certainly wanted to be here and wanted to fit into that style, and certainly guys that were able to do both, that had experience, and all 3 of those guys have it, being in the gun and under center, and so that's what we were trying to make sure that we were doing. We wanted to hire coaches that were going to give us the best opportunity to win, and give us the best opportunity to keep our tradition as far as being able to run the ball the way that we needed to. And so I think that you've done that. Again, I think Coach Cook did a nice job of pointing out that Chad Lunsford's also been in both those systems as well. If you look at particularly some of the film and you go back into kind of that world of what he's been able to do and his background in both places, and even if you look at some of the things that Cal Poly's done the last couple of years, that's the world that I'd like to look like. And that's what I would like for our offense to be able to be. I think the big challenge coming in, and obviously it's an answer that we can't give you today, is what does that look like based on our personnel?
Coach, we used to recruit 5 or 6 quarterbacks, and you'd see 1 or 2 or 3 of them end up as DBs, as receivers. Over the past few years, it's been more, we're recruiting quarterbacks to play quarterback. Is that the philosophy that will continue, or you think it's best to get as many of these really good athletes and then just kind of weed them out as they go?
Do I think there's going to be a high number of quarterbacks? Yes. Are we going to be able to probably get there by signing day? I doubt it, but that's going to be what we're working towards, is to have a high number in here. I think that you're going to have to. If you're going to run the quarterback and be effective with him, then you've got to be able to have numbers to be able to help in those positions.